The harbor keeps its promises, mostly the kind you don't want. Fog clung to the pier like old secrets that refuse to lift. The night was a wet wool blanket wrapped tight around Glass Harbor, muting the clank of halyards and the slap of waves against barnacled pylons. In the distance, a single radio tower blinked through the mist, its red eye winking slow and steady, a pulse in the dark. You are not on the pier. Not yet. You are in your car, parked off the main road, hands on the wheel. The engine ticks as it cools. Your breath fogs the glass. You could still turn back. Caller 9's voice spills from the dashboard speaker, low and conspiratorial.
Welcome back to Midnight Harbor. Tonight, we have a tale from a listener who saw something they shouldn't have on the North Stair. They say there's a ghost step up at the old cannery. You know the one. Miss it, and you fall into the drink. But that's not the spooky part. The spooky part is what they saw on that stair. Maybe don't go up there alone.
You tell yourself it's ridiculous. You've walked those stairs 100 times. Still, the hairs on your arms rise. You kill the ignition. The harbor wind creeps in when you open the door, carrying the tang of salt, diesel, and low tide. Somewhere out there, the cannery fence sings, wire on wire, a quiet, ugly note, caught by the breeze.
There's another story, too. This one about a triangle. No, not that kind. A real triangle. Lighthouse, cannery, pier. Draw the lines and maybe you'll see where things go when they disappear. Maybe you'll see what's hidden in plain sight. Maybe you'll see... well, maybe you won't. Some things aren't meant to be found, right?
You walk toward the pier anyway, boots crunching over gravel and broken shells. The fog closes around you. Lights from the marina smear into greasy halos. Past the cannery, the sea moans. As you near the chain-link fence, you hear the song, a high metallic whine. As the wind threads through frayed wires, it sounds like someone humming off-key. A shadow separates from the deeper dark beneath the cannery's catwalk. You stop.
Who's there?
A figure emerges, face obscured by the hood of a rain jacket. For a heartbeat, you think you recognize the stance. Tall, broad shoulders. Someone you know? Someone you shouldn't? The figure steps closer. You taste rust on the wind. Caller 9's voice fuzzes out, replaced by static. You fumble in your pocket for your phone. The screen glows weakly. A half-finished message glares back. GLA-. You never hit send. The sea surges against the pilings. Your foot slides on something slick. Your stomach drops with it. A scream lodges in your throat as the world tilts. There's a sound like fabric tearing. Then only the splash, and the harbor keeps its promise. Chapter 1. Return to Glass Harbor. I hadn't planned on driving back. My life fit into a storage unit and a garage apartment 5 hours away, and I liked it that way. But then Lena Vale called and told me that her daughter was missing again. Not Iris this time, but another girl, Mara. And I heard the crack in Lena's voice that hadn't been there 10 years ago, when we all still believed everything could be found if we just looked hard enough. The highway into Glass Harbor hasn't improved since I left. Potholes yawning like missing teeth. Eucalyptus trees leaning over the road as if trying to hide the town behind their heavy branches. Gray water glimmered through the gaps. Seagulls traced lazy circles above the breakwater. As I crossed the bridge, the scent hit me. Salt and fish and diesel. The same old welcome home. Fog rolled across the asphalt in slow, deliberate fingers. It was late winter, the season when the harbor seemed perpetually half asleep, all its secrets tucked under blankets of mist. The old cannery's red brick hulk rose out of it, familiar and ominous, its windows black and empty like eye sockets. The lighthouse beyond winked once, twice. Something about that blink always made me feel like it was trying to get my attention. I pulled into the cracked parking lot of Lena's Harborview Motel. The sign buzzed weakly, the neon V flickering so it read, Harbor IEW. The office door opened before I reached it. Lena stood there, wrapped in a knitted cardigan, despite the mild morning.
"You came,"
I said I would. Inside, the motel office smelled of coffee and mildew. A black and white photo of a younger Lena and Iris smiled down from the wall, dusty with neglect. Lena poured me a cup without asking if I wanted one and sat across the counter, both hands wrapped around her mug as if it were a lifeline.
"Mara went missing 2 nights ago, storm night. She was working at the marina bar. Said she'd close up and come by for dinner. Never did."
Police?
"They said they're looking. They've got people out checking the roads and the beach. But the cannery's locked up, and Noah says nothing washed up. I don't trust them, Maeve. I don't trust any of them anymore."
Where was she last seen?
"At the marina. Noah Brandt saw her leave the bar, said she was heading home. That's all."
Okay. I'll talk to Noah. I'll see what I can find.
"Thank you. It's happening again. I can't do this again."
Let me find her. Noah Brandt was at the marina, as always, standing on the dock in his heavy jacket, clipboard tucked under one arm. His hair was more salt than pepper now, his face more lined, but he still had the build of a man who hauled rope and mended nets.
"Maeve Calder. Thought you left us for good."
Good has never been part of the equation. Lena sent me. He sobered.
"Of course she did. Terrible thing. Mara locked up at closing, came down the dock. Storm was coming in. Lights went out for a bit. When they came back, she was gone. Nothing but the wind and rain."
The lights went out?
"Power flickered. Happens when the wind's bad. Cleared up quick."
And you're sure she didn't head toward the cannery? My eyes drifted to the chain-link fence that separated the marina from the old cannery grounds. The fence sagged in places, patched with twisted wire. Even from here, I could hear it humming softly when the wind gusted.
"Those fences are wired shut. No one goes in there. Liability. The council would have my head."
Uh-huh. I didn't believe for a second that a bit of wire could keep curious teenagers, seasonal workers, or anyone else out of a spooky abandoned cannery, liability or no. Glass Harbor had always been more suggestion than enforcement.
"You should talk to Rhett. He works security for the council now. He's in charge of that place. He'll tell you the same."
I'll find him. I walked toward the fence and let the wind carry the wire's song to me. It was that same off-key hum I remembered from a decade ago, a note that sounded like it wanted to be a warning, but was really a lure. Rust flakes flecked the ground beneath my boots. For a moment, I was 10 years younger, stepping under that catwalk, hearing a splash.
"You remember that sound?"
It's hard to forget. I left the marina with damp shoes and a head full of fog. The cannery fence's ugly note followed me all the way back to the motel, a ghost of a song that promised nothing good. That night, after I'd unpacked my duffel bag in the motel room I'd sworn I'd never sleep in again, the wind rose. It rattled the windows and set the motel sign buzzing like a broken insect. I lay awake listening to the wire on wire of the cannery fence, singing in the distance. Somewhere out there, a phone was snagged in the chain link, its screen flashing unread messages to no one, and I knew sleep wasn't going to come easy until I found it. Chapter 2. Storm Aftermath. The storm had ripped the town's edges ragged. Boat tarps flapped loose. A sheet of corrugated metal lay twisted on the road like a discarded ribbon, and the leaves of the eucalyptus trees lay plastered to shop fronts in soggy fans. Seaweed clung to lamp posts. Glass Harbor looked like it had been wrung out and left to dry. I pulled on a raincoat and headed toward the marina with a coffee to go from Lena's tiny kitchen. The sky was the color of old bruises. The air carried the electric tang of a storm that had passed, but might return if it wanted. It had gone out with a crack and a sigh sometime before dawn, leaving behind a town full of uneasy silence and snapped power lines. The cannery fence still sang. It was a high note, thin and persistent, as wind threaded through the strands of wire. It didn't matter how many times I'd heard it. It set my teeth on edge every time. The chain link had always sagged, but the storm had pulled sections loose and twisted others tight. When I reached the spot where the fence met the angle of the cannery, something glinted against the links, an orange glow against gray metal. A phone, slender, dark, its screen still cracked from some earlier life. It was wedged between two wires as if someone had tried to throw it and missed. The wind had not knocked it free, which meant someone must have pushed it through. I pulled a latex glove from my pocket and eased the device out. Cold. Damp. The screen lit up when I pressed the button. One missed call. Draft message. G-L-A-. I thumbed open the voicemail app. A wavering voice spilled out, half drowned by static and wind.
Hey, it's Mara. Look, I found something, I think GLA.
The message cut off mid-syllable, swallowed by a gale. The way she said GLA made it sound like glass, like our town's name, or like the start of something else. The second half of the password field blinked empty. The phone's shell was smeared with something dark. Grease, thick and gritty, like the kind used on anchor chains. I lifted the device to my nose. It smelled faintly metallic and chemical, the same smell that had clung to the cannery catwalk railings the night Iris went missing. A wave of memories swept through me, unasked for and unwelcome. The ghost step that creaked, the rust that flaked, the splash. I crouched to study the ground, mud and gravel, pocked with divots from the rain, footprints overlapping and half filled with water. A smear of grease stretched from the chain link to the walkway toward the cannery entrance. I reached down and scraped a flake of rust from the fence. It stained my glove orange. I tucked it into a small evidence bag. The cannery itself loomed above me, its windows like dark eyes. The catwalk that wrapped around its second story sagged in places, closed off by a sun-bleached sign that read, "Danger, keep out." The sagging panel might have been the ghost step Caller 9 hinted at. I felt the old lure tugging at me. Go up there, see for yourself. But I forced my feet to remain planted. Instead, I turned and followed the grease streak toward the pier. It stopped abruptly at a patch where the wooden planks looked darker, as if something heavy had been dragged across them and into the water. I knelt, touched the stain. It was slick, fresh. The storm hadn't washed it away. That meant someone had been here after the worst of the weather, when the rest of us were huddled indoors. I recorded the details into my phone's notes app, found Mara's phone on cannery fence, draft voicemail to GLA, smear of anchor grease on phone, rust flakes on fence, grease streak ends at pier, possibly dump site. Note: catwalk, ghost step. The wind gusted, the cannery fence's song climbed a half tone, and for a moment I could almost hear words in it. Warnings or invitations, I wasn't sure. I stood and looked back at the motel, just visible through the haze. Lena's silhouette darkened a window. She was watching me. When I looked down again, the phone's screen had gone dark. The draft message still blinked its accusation, G-L-A-. A half password to a story I hadn't yet begun to understand. Hooked yet by the evidence and the promise of unraveling, I slid the phone into an evidence bag and headed toward town. I needed answers from Noah about the power outage and from Rhett about the cannery. I needed to figure out what G-L-A- meant before Mara's voice became just another echo in this harbor. Chapter 3. Bar Interviews. The Swell and Anchor had always been a crammed, low-ceilinged bar with an old jukebox that never played anything recorded after 1995. It sat at edge of the marina like a barnacle on a boat, stubbornly clinging despite storms and gentrification plans. The morning after a storm, it smelled of damp wood, stale beer, and fried fish. The neon marlin in the window flickered on and off, as if uncertain whether to advertise or surrender. Jewel, the bartender, was wiping down the bar with the kind of efficiency that signaled nerves. He was in his 30s, muscled, tattooed, with a beard that didn't quite hide the worry lines around his mouth. He looked up when I walked in and didn't bother to pretend he was glad to see me.
Maeve, heard you were back.
You heard right. I'm looking into Mara's disappearance. Walk me through her last hour here. He set down the cloth.
She took over at 9. I clocked out at 11, and she said she'd close at midnight. Place wasn't busy. Storm had people spooked. Last call was at 11:30. She served 3 beers and 2 ciders, cashed out the till. I left.
Who was still here?
Couple of local fishermen, Tommy and Vic, and that podcaster lady, Sable. She'd been nursing a whiskey and scribbling notes. Oh, and Councilman Pike came in for coffee. Said he was checking on the Heritage Fund volunteers. He tipped big.
Did Mara leave with anyone?
She left alone. I saw her take the trash out. Storm hit hard then. Lights flickered. I went to my truck. I figured she'd lock up and go home.
And the blackout?
Right as the wind picked up, the power went out for, 3 minutes? Whole street. Came back on. I didn't think anything of it. Thought a line snapped. Only later I thought maybe someone tripped something.
You said Councilman Pike tipped big. How long was he here?
10 minutes? He didn't drink the coffee, said he was late for a meeting, left when the lights flickered.
Sable Quinn materialized at my elbow like a stage cue. She wore a black turtleneck and a pair of jeans that looked painted on, and her hair was pulled into a sleek ponytail. A microphone dangled from her neck on a lanyard, ready to catch any statement worth broadcasting.
Detective Calder, is it true you're taking the case? Can I get a comment for my listeners?
This isn't a press conference.
Everything's a press conference when it's broadcast. The community deserves to know what's happening.
What they deserve is privacy while we work. How long were you here? She held up both hands.
Off the record, I was here for an hour. I had an interview scheduled with Councilman Pike about the Heritage Fund. He rescheduled when the storm hit. I stayed to get color. Mara poured me a whiskey. She looked tired but said she was fine. I left when the lights flickered. It was creepy. I went home.
Did Pike say anything about the fund?
He said the restoration project was behind schedule but under budget. He loves to hear himself talk.
A politician who loves to talk. Imagine.
Through the bar's dusty window, I saw people gathering outside the town hall, which sat catty-corner to the swell and anchor. A portable speaker crackled to life. A familiar voice boomed over it, the council spokesperson.
We want to assure the residents of Glass Harbor that the council is doing everything in its power to ensure the safety of our community. Last night's storm caused minor power disruptions, which have now been resolved. The disappearance of Ms. Dwyer appears to be an isolated incident. We urge everyone to remain calm and to avoid speculation. The Heritage Restoration Fund remains fully operational and transparent.
Behind the spokesperson stood Councilman Elijah Pike, smiling and nodding at appropriate moments. His gaze flicked toward the bar, met mine, and slid off like water on wax. He raised a hand in a little wave. Sable's polished mask slipped for a second, just long enough for me to see a flicker of something, anxiety, guilt, maybe ambition. Then she was all bright teeth again.
See? They're on it. Don't let him charm you. Men like him are dangerous when cornered.
She slid off the stool with the grace of someone who knew she was being watched and headed toward the door, her recorder flashing red. I turned back to Jules. Did Mara talk to anyone else?
Just Tommy and Vic. They left when the power went. You can find them down at the docks. They won't have seen anything. The rain was sideways.
Maybe. Maybe not. I closed my notebook and slid off the stool. The councilman's statement still echoed outside, full of reassurance and empty of details. I needed to talk to Tommy and Vic. I needed to find Rhett. and I needed to figure out why Elijah Pike had been at the bar minutes before Mara vanished. On my way out, I paused by the jukebox. Its LED display scrolled a message someone had typed into its song search: G-L-A-H-B-R. For a second, my breath caught. Someone else had been thinking about those letters. Maybe they were just putting in Glass Harbor's name for a tune. Maybe not. When I punched the clear button, the message stubbornly scrolled on, as if it was waiting for me to see. Chapter 4. Outage Logs. After leaving the bar, I needed to know why the lights had gone out. The storm had been fierce, but the way Jules described it, the way the power flared and snuffed out just when certain people were leaving, didn't sit right. In a town like this, blackouts are rare unless someone flips the wrong switch. The council offices sat 2 blocks inland, in a beige building that tried and failed to look modern. Inside, the air smelled like old paper and new paint. A receptionist looked up from her crossword, her smile warming half a watt when she recognized me.
Detective Calder, it's been a while.
Maddie, I need to see the power outage logs from last night. Who handles them?
Oh, that'll be Troy in Utilities. But he's at lunch. Maybe I can pull the report for you? Is this about that girl?
It's about a lot of things. She typed something into her computer, frowning at the screen. Her nails clicked like a clock.
Huh. It says here that the outage lasted 2 minutes, 37 seconds. That's weird. I was at home, my clock reset, and it took me at least 5 minutes to get candles. There's an adjustment note. Corrected for clerical error. Could be a typo?
Print it anyway. And the raw file, if it's there. She did. The printed sheet was a list of timestamps with start and end times. A second page, less tidy, popped out. It had the original uncorrected times. The blackout started at 11:54 p.m. and ended at 12:02 a.m. 8 minutes. Long enough for someone to cross the pier, slip through the fence, drag a body to the water, and vanish. The correction note pushed the start time forward and the end time back. An error, or a lie. I studied the handwriting on the note. It looped too carefully, as if the writer wanted to be neat but not recognizable. Initials. EP. I didn't need a code breaker. Who signs off these corrections?
Council members do. Usually someone from the committee, if it's after hours. Elijah came in late last night, said the logs needed to reflect the correct times. He said it must have been a clerical mistake. Between you and me, he scares me a little.
He's scaring a lot of people. I tucked the papers into my jacket and thanked her. As I turned, I nearly collided with Rhett Mallory.
You digging through the archives without me?
Not everything needs your blessing, Rhett.
Council's on edge. Elijah's making noise about trespassers and threats. You kicking over rocks isn't going to help.
Did you adjust the blackout times?
No, and if you think I'd falsify a log for Pike, you don't know me. But I do know this. Stay off the cannery property. It's city property now, and I'm the one who has to file the paperwork if you get hurt.
Why was he here last night?
Said he was retrieving some emergency documents from his office. Council's prepping for the restoration gala. I was at the radio station running backup generators when the lights went. By the time I got to the bar, he was gone. So was Mara.
Rhett's eyes flicked to the paper in my hand.
Whatever that is, don't leave it lying around. And if you're going to confront Elijah, do it where there are witnesses.
You afraid he'll make me disappear too?
I'm afraid he'll make us all.
He squeezed my shoulder and walked past, leaving the smell of rain and cigarettes behind him. I stepped outside. The air had warmed, but the fog stubbornly clung to the harbor. I pulled out the printout again and traced the timeline with my finger. 11:54 to 12:02. 8 minutes. A clerical error that conveniently shaved off 6 minutes, signed by the man who had been at the bar just before the lights went out. Across the street, the old cannery loomed. The chain-link fence shimmered with moisture. I could almost hear the hum of its wire song from here. The harbor might keep its promises, but it also kept its secrets by burying them in paperwork and fog. I slipped the logs into my jacket and started toward the diner. Lena said she kept a box of Iris's things. Maybe there was something in there I'd missed 10 years ago. Maybe it would sing louder than the fence. Behind me, a car door slammed. I glanced back to see Elijah Pike stepping from his gleaming SUV, his smile already in place, his eyes calculating. He raised his hand as if to wave me over. I ignored it and kept walking, but his voice carried over the wind.
Detective, we should talk about your obsession with paperwork. Clerical errors happen. People make mistakes. Let's not make this one into a conspiracy, okay?
I didn't answer, but as I opened the diner door, I knew this mistake was a string I wasn't going to stop pulling. Chapter 5, Keepsakes and Rust. Lena's office had always been a shrine to the past. Faded tourism posters, a map of Glass Harbor with attractions circled, a dusty jar of marbles labeled free for kids. Her living space behind it was smaller than I remembered. Lena led me through a narrow hallway lined with framed family photos. They ended abruptly at Iris's high school graduation picture. She'd stuck a sprig of dried wattle behind the frame.
Are you sure you want to see this box? We've been through it before.
Humor me. Maybe I missed something. Maybe it'll make more sense now. Lena fetched a plastic storage bin from the bedroom and set it on the kitchen table. She hesitated before opening it, her fingers trembling just enough to show me she wasn't as steely as she wanted to be.
It's been 10 years. I kept everything the police gave back. Her backpack, her jacket, her notebook. I still can't bring myself to wash her clothes.
The lid came off. The smell was faint now, laundered fabric and the ghost of a perfume Iris had loved, something citrus and sea salt. On top lay a denim jacket folded. When I lifted it, rust flakes drifted onto the table like brown snow. 10 years ago, we assumed the rust came from the cannery's railings. There is rust everywhere on the harbor. But as I shook the jacket, I noticed that the flakes weren't uniform. Some had a greasy sheen. I scraped one into an evidence vial and held it up to the light. It looked like glitter ground from iron and oil. This isn't from the pier. It's mixed with grease. Anchor chain grease.
It came off the catwalk. They said she could have leaned against anything. It was an old building.
The catwalk was closed the month before she vanished. Noah said so. The council put up signs.
Those signs never stopped kids from exploring. Maybe she went up there anyway. She loved that view.
Beneath the jacket lay Iris's wallet, still containing a folded 5-pound note and a library card. Her notebook, the front cover decorated with hand-drawn waves and lighthouse beams, had water damage along one edge. I flipped through it. Drawings, half-finished poems, a list titled, Things to Do After Leaving This Town. See a movie in Melbourne. Learn to surf. Get out. No mention of smuggling rings or council funds. At the bottom of the bin lay a matchbook from the Swell and Anchor. I opened it. All the matches were gone, except one. On the inside of the cover, in Iris's handwriting, she'd scribbled a triangle and the letters GLA-HBR. I felt a jolt. Did you see this before?
No, I didn't. I didn't look at everything. It hurt too much.
I tucked the matchbook into my jacket. The triangle looked like the same sketch I'd seen in the harbor master's margin years later. Iris had drawn it before she disappeared. She'd known something. Maybe she was trying to leave me a clue I wasn't sharp enough to catch then. There was one more item. A small voice recorder. We had listened to its contents back then. Recordings of Iris practicing lines for a school play, humming along to songs. I pressed play anyway. The device crackled and spit static. Then, Iris's voice filled the small kitchen, bright and clear, as if she were in the room.
Hey, future me, if you ever listen to this, know that you were braver than you thought. And stop leaving messages for yourself. It's weird. Also, remind Mom I love her. Oh, and if you ever go up the north stair at the cannery, watch your step. The fourth plank is rotten. You'll go straight through if you're not careful. Ask Noah to fix it. He's always talking about safety and then ignoring that place. Okay, I'm done. Good luck.
The hairs on my neck rose. The north stair, the ghost step, caller 9's story from the radio, Iris's recorded warning. It was all connected in a way I'd been too blind to see. I glanced up. Lena had gone rigid, her eyes wide.
I told her not to go up there. She swore she wouldn't. She lied to me.
Or she was leaving you a message. You should hear this. I replayed the recording for Lena. She put her head in her hands. When it finished, I touched her shoulder. I'm going to the north stair.
Maeve, be careful, please. If Noah catches you, and
Noah won't be the one I'm worried about. I slid the matchbook and the vial of rust into my pocket. The clock on the wall ticked. The cannery's ghost step creaked somewhere in my memory. The fourth plank. I pictured it sagging over a drop into black water. I'd avoided that staircase for a decade. It was time to see if it still held any secrets. Chapter 6. The Harbor Master's Contradiction. The sky had brightened by the time I knocked on the weather-beaten door of Noah Brandt's office. Gulls shrieked overhead, and a crane groaned as it hoisted nets from a trawler. Inside, the harbor office smelled of tide charts and coffee. Nautical maps pinned to the wall curled at the edges. Noah looked up from his desk, a pencil tucked behind one ear.
Maeve, twice in one day. To what do I owe the honor?
I found Mara's phone, on the cannery fence, covered in anchor grease. I heard a voicemail. She was trying to say GLA-, and she never finished. And I have these. I set the vial of rust flakes and the matchbook on his desk. He frowned at them, then at me.
What's this supposed to be?
Rust from Iris's jacket. It's mixed with grease. Same grease on Mara's phone. That catwalk was closed months before Iris disappeared. You told the council it was off limits for safety. So why is the grease from up there on their things?
Because closed doesn't mean locked. We put signs up, but we didn't have the money to do a proper seal. Kids went up there anyway. Hell, I went up there last week to check for storm damage.
Did you fix the rotten board?
Which one?
The fourth plank on the north stair, the one Iris warned about.
Maybe I did. Or maybe I was going to. Things slipped through the cracks.
Or maybe you kept it that way so no one else would go up there. A liability, like you said.
You think I wanted those girls to get hurt? I put the sign up. I asked the council for money to fix it. They said no. Funds were allocated. And you know who wrote the budget? Elijah. He said the cannery wasn't a priority. He cut the maintenance budget to almost nothing and moved it into the restoration fund. He told me to put up a sign and forget it. So I did. Maybe I should have broken down the stairs, but it's city property. They would have fired me.
Did he ever go up there?
Once or twice. He said he loved the view. He took Sable up there once. She said she wanted ambiance for her podcast. I told them to be careful. They laughed.
His gaze drifted to the window, where the cannery's red brick bulk pressed against the fog like an accusation. He ran a hand over his close-cropped hair.
Look, Maeve, I didn't kill those girls. I didn't hide anything. Not on purpose. I didn't know Iris had been up on that catwalk. I didn't know Mara went near the fence. I only know that Elijah's been funneling money into that damn heritage fund and using the cannery as an excuse to hold parties. If you think there's something under the surface, you're probably right. But don't make me into your villain. I'm as stuck here as anyone.
I don't think you're the villain. But I do think you know more than you want to admit. If you have paperwork, anything about those budget reallocations, about the emergency repairs, I need to see them. And I need to know who else had access.
I'll look. But be careful, Maeve. You're stirring things up. Elijah has his hands in every pocket. If he thinks you're a threat, he'll come at you sideways.
Then I'll duck. He huffed a humorless laugh.
Rhett's more likely to catch you sneaking in than I am. He takes his new job seriously. I told him to lighten up, but he said it's nice to have a badge again.
I'm not worried about Rhett. He has a conscience. It's Elijah I'm worried about. Noah opened a drawer and riffled through a stack of folders. He pulled one out with the label, Council minutes, emerge repairs 10 years. He slid it toward me.
I shouldn't be giving you this, but it's public record if you know where to look. There are a lot of line items labeled storm repairs. See where the money went. See which vendors got paid. Most of them aren't real. I tried to ask questions. Elijah told me it wasn't my place.
Thank you. I'll find her, Noah. I found everyone else, and I'll come back with more questions. I tucked the folder under my arm and stepped back into the cold air. The cannery's hum, the faint smell of grease and rust, followed me down the dock. The sun tried to burn through the fog and failed. I flipped through the folder as I walked, scanning the council minutes. Line items with vague descriptions. Emergency repairs, harbor lights, storm cleanup, cannery catwalk. The amounts were large. The vendor names looked off, too generic. I scribbled them into my notebook to cross-check later. At the end of the list, in a margin, someone had drawn a triangle connecting 3 dots labeled L, C, and P, lighthouse, cannery, pier. My pulse ticked faster. The same triangle Iris had drawn, the same triangle caller 9 had described on the radio, the same triangle that had been scrawled on the jukebox. They were all pointing to something, or somewhere. I tucked the pages away and looked up. The cannery loomed bigger than life. The North Stair waited. But first, I wanted to see what the council's minutes looked like on paper. Numbers didn't lie the way people did, unless someone forced them to. And maybe that someone had finally made a mistake. Chapter 7. Paper trails. I took the council minutes to the diner where the coffee was cheap and the gossip was free. A few regulars lined the counter. The morning rush had slowed to a trickle. Shirley, the waitress, brought me a steaming mug and a plate of toast without asking. She glanced at the folder.
Doing homework, Maeve? Thought you were done with school.
Budget audits, riveting stuff. I spread the papers out on the table. Columns of dates, codes, descriptions, and dollar amounts. Emergency repairs, $12,000. Vendor, Harbor Restoration Solutions. Storm lights replacement, $8,400. Vendor, GHB Maintenance Company. My eyes drifted to the footnotes. Each time, the approving signature read Elijah Pike. Beside it, a smaller checkmark, Rhett Mallory. My stomach tightened. I pulled out my phone and typed the vendor names into a search engine. No results, no websites, no phone numbers. It was as if they existed solely on the council forms. I scrolled further. A name in one of the lines caught my eye. Black Salt Holdings. It stirred something. I rummaged in my brain. Where had I heard that? Then I remembered. On Iris's notebook list, she'd written, "Call BSH Rejob." At the time, we'd assumed she meant a hospitality company. Now I wasn't so sure. I called Sable before I could talk myself out of it. She answered on the second ring.
Did the council minutes put you to sleep yet?
Quite the opposite. Off the record, you know anything about Harbor Restoration Solutions or GHB Maintenance Company?
They don't exist. They're shells. I've been trying to trace them for months. They all link back to a P.O. box registered to the council building. Elijah signs the checks. Money goes out, but nothing comes back. And before you ask, yes, I have documents. No, I haven't published them yet.
Why not?
Because I like my breaks. Listen, I know you think I'm just stirring the pot for ratings, but I'm serious. Glass Harbor is rotten under the paint. I'm not your enemy. Not in this.
Then share what you have.
Meet me tonight at the radio station. Midnight, bring coffee, and for the love of God, don't tell anyone you're coming.
She hung up before I could argue. I stared at my reflection in the diner window. Outside, the fog had begun to lift, revealing the bay. The lighthouse blinked. I looked down at the papers again. The line items with fake vendors, the triangle, the signatures. The pattern was clear. Money was flowing through a network of ghost companies, all under the guise of emergency repairs. If Mara had found something similar, she might have tried to call it in. GLA-HBR could be GLA-HBR, the ledger for Glass Harbor's restoration fund. If she was halfway through entering a password, when she was interrupted, someone must have known she was onto them. Shirley topped up my coffee.
You always looked at numbers like they were going to confess. Find what you're looking for?
With half a smile, I replied, maybe. Or maybe I just found another layer to peel, and maybe I'm about to meet with someone who has the rest of it. She shook her head.
You always did like trouble.
Trouble likes me. I gathered the papers and slid them back into the folder. The diner's bell jingled as the door opened. Rhett walked in, rain jacket still dripping. His eyes landed on me and narrowed. He came over to the booth.
I heard you're sniffing through budgets now. You always were thorough.
Did you know you were signing off on fake vendors?
We get stacks of paperwork. We sign where we're told. I'm not an accountant. For what it's worth, I tried to ask. Elijah said to trust him. I didn't. He said I'd regret it if I didn't. Guess I regret it anyway.
You should come clean.
To who? The council? The town? Sable? You? I'm not the hero here, Maeve. I'm just a man who needed a job. But I didn't kidnap Mara. And I didn't kill Iris. And I sure as hell won't stand by if you decide to burn Elijah down. I'll help you, quietly, off the books. But don't expect me to stand next to you at the bonfire.
He straightened, tipped his hat to Shirley, and ordered a coffee. I finished mine in 2 gulps, paid, and left. The day had brightened to a weak sunlight that did little to warm the breeze. I had hours to fill before midnight. Hours to examine every piece of paper in that folder. Hours to decide if trusting Sable was as foolish as trusting Elijah. Chapter 8, North Stair. Whisper. The clock on the motel nightstand glowed 11:21 p.m. I sat on the edge of the bed with the folder of fake vendors spread out, highlighter stains mapping the flow of money like tributaries to a poisoned river. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered on reflex.
You think numbers will save you?
Who is this?
A friend. A fan. Depends on who's listening. You're headed to the cannery. Watch your step. The 4th plank on the north stair gives way. People who don't know fall through. People who do know use it to disappear.
How do you know about that?
I live in the wires. I hear things. I saw you with the matchbook. Triangle, triangle. LCP. Lighthouse, cannery, pier. Stand at the top of the lighthouse at dawn and draw lines. You'll see where the harbor buries its secrets.
Why call me? Why now?
Because you're the only one who listens. Because the man with the smile isn't what he seems. Because 10 years is a long time to keep quiet.
What's your name?
Names are dangerous. They make you real. Meet your reporter friend. She has something that will make you angry. And don't trust the man who offers you coffee at midnight.
The line went dead. I stared at my phone. My heart hammered against my ribs in a rhythm that matched the motel's humming fridge. Caller 9. The voice was different from the radio, muffled and mechanical, but the cadence was the same. Someone was watching. Someone knew the North Stair's secret, and someone didn't want me to trust coffee? I looked at the thermos I'd prepared to bring to the radio station. Maybe I should pick up a fresh one. I closed the file, tucked it into my bag, and grabbed my coat. Midnight with Sable awaited, and an anonymous voice had just made sure I wouldn't enjoy any beverage Elijah might offer. On my way out, the neon sign buzzed overhead. The V in HARBORIEW, flickering. For once, the missing light made sense. Chapter 9. Late Receipts. The only place open at 11:30 was the diner. Shirley was wiping down counters and stacking chairs on tables. An industrial coffee machine hissed behind her. I stepped in, my bag slung over my shoulder.
Couldn't sleep either? Let me guess. Black coffee to go.
Make it 2. For a friend who likes his coffee to taste like mud. She poured from a fresh pot and slid 2 paper cups toward me. As she did, a receipt fluttered from the register onto the counter. I caught a glimpse of the printed words before she scooped it up. 12:05 a.m., coffee, Pike staff. What's that?
Just last night's till tape, storm night. We did a late coffee run for volunteers. The council asked me to stay open after curfew so the restoration crew could warm up. Elijah paid cash, tipped well. Why? You need it for your records?
Mind if I see? She hesitated, then handed it over. The timestamp read 12:05 a.m., 5 minutes after the power came back on. Under server, someone had handwritten Pike staff. The total was for 5 coffees. A note scrawled in the margin said, "Lights out fun." My fingers tightened on the paper. Volunteers?
That's what he said. His assistant came in with him, the man with the leather gloves. They were laughing about the blackout. I thought it was weird, but they paid. He said they were checking on the cannery. Do you think...
I think they weren't doing storm repairs. Keep this between us, okay? And if Pike comes in again, call me.
I don't want trouble.
Neither do I, and I'm knee-deep. I folded the receipt into my notebook, a late-night coffee run for volunteers right after the power outage, with a note hinting at fun. It fit. The blackout gave Elijah time to take Mara. He celebrated with coffee. Maybe he thought the diner was too busy to notice the time. Maybe he thought no one would ask why volunteers needed caffeine after midnight. Maybe he thought no one was paying attention. He was wrong. I left a 5 on the counter, took the coffees, and headed for the door. As I stepped out into the cold, the bell jingled. A tall silhouette moved down the sidewalk toward the diner. Elijah? Number Rhett. He spotted me, raised a hand.
Coffee this late? You're living dangerously.
It's not for me. Walk with me.
Always thought you liked doing things alone.
I'm making an exception. We walked side by side toward the radio station. The fog had thinned to a gauze. Streetlights cast circles of yellow on the wet pavement.
You look like you've seen a ghost.
Maybe I heard one. Caller 9 phoned me, warned me about the North Stair, the triangle, not trusting the man who offers coffee. You want this?
That's the nicest thing you've said to me in years. So, what does a caller with no name want?
To keep me alive, apparently, and to point me somewhere I'm already headed, but they also said not to trust someone offering me coffee at midnight, which means Elijah's going to be at the radio station.
He loves the mic. Be careful. He plays nice until he doesn't. He knows you're sniffing around his finances. He asked me this morning if you'd been to the cannery.
What did you say?
That I couldn't stop you if you wanted to jump off the lighthouse. He laughed. I didn't.
We reached the station's parking lot. Its windows glowed blue from within. Sable's silhouette moved behind a mic. Rhett stopped, his hand on my arm.
You don't have to do this alone. You could walk away. Let the council bury their secrets. Let Mara be a sad story people tell to scare kids away from the pier.
I'm not built like that, and you know it.
Yeah, that's why I'm here. I'll stand outside. If anything happens, I'll come in, but you make him talk. Make Sable play the tape. And remember, Elijah's charm is his weapon. Don't let it nick you.
I nodded and walked toward the station door, the receipt heavy in my pocket, Caller 9's words echoing in my head. Chapter 10. Midnight Mike. The radio station smelled of dust and coffee grounds. Posters of local bands peeling at the edges lined the hallway. Sable met me at the door to the recording booth, her ponytail frazzled, eyes bright with adrenaline. She glanced at the extra cup in my hand.
You brought coffee, thank God.
It's for Elijah. Caller 9 warned me not to accept drinks from him. I figured I'd give him his own poison.
So he called you too. He's unpredictable. Come on, we have a few minutes before we go live.
Inside, the booth was small, filled with the hum of equipment and the smell of old vinyl. A red on-air sign above the door was dark, but Sable flicked a switch to warm up the mics. She pulled a USB drive from her pocket and held it up.
This is the raw interview with Elijah from 6 months ago. The one I never aired. You'll see why.
Play it. She plugged it into the console and hit play. The speakers crackled. Elijah's voice filled the room, smooth, rich, perfect for radio.
And that's why the Heritage Fund is so important, Sable. We owe it to the generations who built this town, people like Iris. Poor girl, so much potential. We all miss her. She was a light.
Some people say the fund isn't transparent. Care to comment?
Transparency is relative. People don't need to see the sausage being made. They need to enjoy the feast.
He continued, charming, deflecting. Then Sable asked a throwaway question about the weather. Elijah responded.
Nothing like a foggy Glass Harbor morning to remind us of the old days. Remember when Iris used to call the fog ghost blankets? She'd run around pretending to be a pirate, making us all laugh.
My skin went cold. Iris had never called it that in public. It was a private joke between her and Lena. Only family knew. Elijah had not been that close to the Vales. He'd heard it somewhere. Or from someone. You confronted him after.
I tried. He said he must have heard it around town, but he smiled when he said it, like he knew he'd slipped. I didn't air it. I was scared. I shouldn't have been. This is my line in the sand. I can't sit on this anymore.
I replayed the segment, letting the words sink in. Elijah's casual mention of the nickname. A slip of the tongue that suggested he'd been speaking with someone who should not have trusted him. The call from caller 9 that told me not to trust his coffee. It all coalesced into a feeling like standing too close to a cliff. Sable killed the playback. She met my eyes.
He'll be here any minute. We'll go live. We'll ask him about the funds. We'll play this if we have to. Are you ready?
Not really. Let's do it anyway. The door opened. Elijah Pike filled the frame, all polished shoes and perfect hair, the smile that always looked like it had been practiced in a mirror. He carried a coffee cup. He raised an eyebrow at the extra cups on the table.
Maeve, Sable, always a pleasure. I brought brew, but I see I'm not needed. Let's make radio magic, shall we?
We sat. Sable flicked the on-air sign. Music faded. Her voice came through the headset, bright and inviting.
Good evening, Glass Harbor. Tonight we have a special unscheduled segment with Councilman Elijah Pike and former Detective Maeve Calder discussing the recent storm, the Heritage Fund, and the disappearance of Mara Dwyer. Thank you both for joining us.
Elijah leaned toward the mic, radiating warmth.
Thank you, Sable. Always a pleasure to serve.
I leaned in, my voice steady. Councilman Pike, the public has questions about the Heritage Fund, about emergency repairs, about fake vendors. Care to explain Harbor Restoration Solutions and GHB Maintenance Co.? His smile faltered, only a fraction, but it was enough. He recovered.
I see rumors travel faster than storms in this town. Those companies subcontract through a larger network. It's complicated. Paperwork is messy. But rest assured, every cent goes to preserving our history.
Even the cent that paid for coffee at Shirley's Diner after midnight last storm? The receipt says Pike staff. The timestamp matches the blackout. Were you celebrating, Councilman? The phone lines lit up in the booth. Callers waiting to speak. Elijah's eyes flicked to Sable. She didn't bail him out.
We were tired. Volunteers needed caffeine. I'm sorry if that offends your sensibilities. Do you really think I'm responsible for a young woman's disappearance?
I think you're responsible for covering up where the money goes. And I think you know more about Iris than you've ever said, like her nickname for fog. He didn't flinch this time. He leaned back, crossed his legs, and let his smile widen.
Ghost blankets? Cute, isn't it? Everyone in town knows that story. Maybe you should focus on real clues, Detective, instead of family trivia and diner receipts. You're embarrassing yourself.
Sable glanced at me. Her finger hovered over the play button for the recording. She whispered off mic.
Say the word and I'll drop it.
I shook my head. Not yet. Elijah was talking, his voice smooth as ever, but there were beads of sweat at his temple. Caller 9 had told me not to trust his coffee. I kept my hands away from the cups. The on-air light glowed red. The town was listening. Somewhere outside, The harbor hummed. I took a breath and prepared for the next question. Chapter 11. Off-air fallout. The red-on-air light blinked off. Sable exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for hours. Elijah's smile wavered as he stood.
Well, that was spirited. I'll be interested to hear the ratings.
I'm more interested in Mara's location.
Yes, as am I. And in my lawyer's advice, I suggest you tread carefully, Detective. Defamation is still a thing, even in this town.
He picked up his untouched coffee, tipped an imaginary hat, and left the booth. Through the glass, I saw Rhett straighten outside as Elijah passed. They exchanged words I couldn't hear. Rhett's hands balled. Sable slumped in her chair, shoulders sagging, her bravado gone now that the mics were cold.
I didn't think he'd actually show. I thought he'd send a proxy. He loves the sound of his own voice too much.
Why did you sit on that audio? You knew he knew Iris's nickname. That he was lying.
Because I thought it wouldn't matter. Because I wanted to build a bigger audience before I dropped something that could get me sued. Because I thought Iris was just a story. The way everyone turned her into one. I didn't know. I didn't want to know. She came to me once, before she disappeared. She said she had a story about the council, something about money. She said she didn't trust the police. She wanted me to help her get it on record. I told her to come back with documents. I thought she was being dramatic, and then she was gone. If only I had listened.
You might have been gone, too. Elijah has a way of removing obstacles.
Maybe. I have more. I did a piece on the Heritage Fund last year. I cut most of it because it sounded paranoid. I have interviews with contractors who never existed, and I have a call from someone a week ago, a woman. She didn't give a name. She said she was a seasonal worker at the bar. She said she found something on the council's shared drive. She asked me what to do. I told her to back it up and send it to me. She never did. That was Mara. I didn't connect it until today.
She handed me a slip of paper with a string of numbers and letters, an IP address, and a password. GLAHBR Ledger 1. Mara had texted it to Sable, and Sable had missed it. Is this the password?
It didn't work when I tried. It might need a code key, or maybe it's tied to a location. The ledger is on a secure server. I don't know. I'm not a hacker. I host a podcast about murders and ghost stories. I didn't think I'd become one.
I pocketed the slip. It matched the half-draft in Mara's voicemail. She had tried to send the password even as someone was grabbing her, and Sable had done nothing with it. It was a mistake she wouldn't get to forget. You're going to help me. On record. You're going to release your investigation, even if it's messy. You're going to call out Elijah's shell companies. And you're going to apologize to Lena.
I will, but there's one more thing. After Iris disappeared, I got an anonymous envelope with photos, grainy shots of the cannery at night, a shadow on the catwalk. It looked like Iris. Or maybe I told myself it did. I didn't show anyone. I thought it was a cruel prank. It's in my apartment, if you want it.
I do. We made plans to exchange the envelope. Outside, Rhett leaned in the doorway.
Nice show. He's fuming. 2 of his lackeys just walked by, muttering about injunctions.
Let them file them.
Sable, you good?
I've been better, but I'm tired of being scared.
Rhett nodded, eyes softening.
You both need to be careful leaving here. I'll walk you to your cars. Pike plays nice on air, but off air. Let's just say he has friends who don't mind getting their hands dirty.
As we stepped into the cold night, my phone buzzed again. A blocked number. I answered.
Good radio. Bad man. Watch your backs. He doesn't like being embarrassed. And Maeve, look under your windshield wiper.
My stomach dropped. I jogged to my car. Under the wiper blade, a strip of paper flapped. I yanked it free. On it, printed in block letters, "Stay away or you'll join her." No signature. Grease smudged the corner. I held it up for Rhett and Sable to see.
He's escalating.
Then so will I. Tomorrow, I'm going to the cannery. I want to see the catwalk. I want to see the North Stair. And I want to see if anyone's waiting for me at the top. Chapter 12. The Catwalk. Dawn painted the harbor in thin stripes of pink and gray. Fog draped low over the water like a sheet drawn over a body. Rhett met me by the cannery fence, a thermos in hand and a crowbar tucked under his arm.
You sure about this? You didn't want to climb those stairs 10 years ago.
10 years ago, I thought I'd find answers I wasn't ready for. Today, I'm ready. We approached the chain-link fence. The sign still read, "Danger, keep out." The padlock on the gate was new, shiny and thick. Rhett slid the crowbar between the chain links and pried. The lock snapped with a sharp crack.
I'll fix it later. We'll say the storm did it.
Inside, the cannery's interior was a cathedral of rust and dust. Sunlight filtered through cracked skylights, illuminating motes in the air. Machinery hulks loomed like dormant sea monsters. The catwalk clung to the walls, a narrow metal spine with railings corroded by salt air. We found the north stair. Wooden steps climbed into shadow. A piece of caution tape hung limp. The fourth plank sagged slightly under my foot. I pressed down gently. It groaned. There it is.
Looks like someone tried to reinforce it recently. See those new screws? But they didn't replace the board. They just propped it.
So it still gives if you don't know where to step. I placed my weight on the edge of the board, hugging the railing. The plank held. Rhett followed. We ascended in silence, each step echoing in the cavernous space. At the top, the catwalk stretched around the room. Rust flakes dusted the metal like brown snow. I scraped some into a baggie. It glittered with the same oil sheen as the flakes from Iris's jacket. Near the far corner, by a ladder leading to the roof, a smear of dark grease glistened on the grating. Footprints tracked through it, leading to the ladder. The grease smelled like the anchor chain, thick I'd sampled before, but with a sharp chemical tang. This isn't marina grease. It's heavier, different additive.
I had a boat mechanic friend. He always mixed his own chain grease, said the store-bought stuff was too thin. Used a special additive. What was his name? Hugo Decker. He rents out of Slip 12. He also rents his winch to the council. Elijah uses it to lift heavy things during gala setups.
So this could be his, or his customers. We'll compare them. At the ladder's base, I found a small metal tag hanging from a nail. Property of GHB Maintenance Co. My heart beat faster. A fake company with real hardware.
They're sloppy, leaving tags. Maybe they didn't think anyone would come up here.
Maybe they thought we'd forgotten. Beat. Look. A tuft of fabric was caught on a rusted bolt. A pale green thread that matched the color of Mara's windbreaker in the photo on Lena's fridge. I bagged it. Evidence the new missing woman had been here. The view from the catwalk was dizzying. Through the broken windows, the harbor spread out, the lighthouse in the distance, the pier to the south. I imagined the lines between them. If I were to draw them, they'd intersect somewhere beyond the reef. Caller 9 said to stand at the top of the lighthouse. Maybe that was next. We descended carefully. At the fourth plank, Rhett jumped over it entirely. At the bottom, we replaced the padlock with the broken one, making it look intact from a distance. We walked back to our cars, pockets full of rust, grease, and thread.
We're going to need a lab to test this.
I know a guy in Melbourne. He owes me. He won't ask questions. Chapter 13. Triangles. By midday, the fog had lifted enough to see the lighthouse clearly. The tower stood white and worn at the end of the breakwater, its light cowl dark in the daylight. Lena insisted on coming. She said she needed to. She clutched a thermos of tea like a talisman.
Iris loved this place. We used to come here on her birthdays. She'd make wishes into the wind.
Did she ever mention triangles?
She liked geometry. She'd draw shapes in the fog on the windows. Triangles, circles. I didn't think they meant anything.
At the base of the lighthouse, we found the keeper, an older man named Bert who had worked there longer than most of us had been alive. He wore a knit cap and carried a mug that said, "World's okayest keeper."
Maeve Calder. Haven't seen you in a dog's age. What brings you up my steps?
Triangles. And maybe a body.
Right then, come on up.
Inside, the spiral staircase creaked under our weight. At the top, Bert unlocked the door to the lantern room and stepped aside. The harbor unfurled before us in a full circle panorama. The cannery's roof looked like a rusted patch on the town's quilt. The pier jutted out like an accusing finger. The reef shelf glinted under the water to the east. I held out my hands, thumb and forefinger framing the cannery and the pier. Then I drew an imaginary line to the reef, connecting the 3 points. It formed a triangle. Its center lay in a patch of deeper water off the reef, where currents swirled strangely. Gulls swooped there, circling something.
What do you see?
An intersection, where he dumped her, maybe both of them. Bert shuffled over, squinting.
You know, decades ago, they used to dump old nets and anchors out there. Made a mess of navigation. We told them to stop. No one listens to keepers. Last week, I was out there with a small boat, checked the drift, felt something snag under. Could be an anchor, could be a body.
Could you take us there?
I shouldn't. Liability. But I'm no fan of councilmen who think they own the sea. We go at first light tomorrow. Fewer eyes. Bring whatever you need to fish up skeletons.
We agreed. As we turned to leave, something caught my eye. On the window jamb, carved in rough letters, was a triangle. Next to it, initials, IV. The carving looked 10 years old. Iris was here. She knew.
Why didn't she tell me?
Maybe she thought she did. Maybe she tried and we didn't listen. We're listening now. As we descended, my phone buzzed, another blocked number. I answered.
Did you draw the lines?
Yes.
Tomorrow will hurt, but hurting is better than not knowing.
I pocketed the phone. Tomorrow we would bring up a body. It would hurt, and it would change everything. Chapter 14. Surfacing the Past. The sea was mercilessly calm at dawn, a deceptive pane of glass that hid its past crimes. Bert's small boat bobbed at the dock, its hull scarred from years of weather. Rhett, Lena, and I climbed aboard. Bert started the motor with a cough.
We're not dragging nets, we're just checking drift. That's what I'll say if anyone asks.
We motored out past the breakwater, the town shrinking behind us. Fog hung in streaks across the water. We headed toward the coordinates I'd marked from the lighthouse. My heart hammered a slow, heavy beat. At the spot where the lines converged, the water darkened. Bert killed the engine.
Here, depth's about 7 meters, bottom's muddy. If there's anything down there, it'll be wrapped in weed.
Rhett and I dropped a weighted grappling hook tied to a rope. It hit the water with a plunk, then sank out of sight. We let out rope. It went taut. I hauled gently. The hook snagged something heavy.
Easy. Might be a log.
We pulled. The rope strained. Something broke free from the mud. We hauled hand over hand. My palms burned. The water's surface bulged, then broke. A tangle of rope and seaweed emerged, entwined around bone.
Oh my God.
It was a skeleton, mostly intact, wrapped in anchor chain and netting. The skull grinned up at us through a veil of weed. It wore a necklace, a cheap pendant I recognized from the box of Iris's keepsakes. Rust stained the bones. A scrap of denim clung to one femur. Iris. Lena sobbed silently, reaching out but stopping short. Rhett swore under his breath. Bert crossed himself.
We'll get the authorities. Quiet like. I'll radio the water police. We'll say we were checking drift and found this. They won't ask too many questions if there's a body to deal with.
As we secured the remains to the boat, I noticed something wedged in the chain links, a waterproof plastic tube. I pried it loose with shaking fingers and opened it. Inside was a folded sheet of paper, water-stained, but legible. It was a ledger printout with columns of numbers and names. GLA-HBR ledger. Vendors, shell companies, amounts. And at the bottom, a handwritten note. If anything happens to me, trust Maeve. She tried to give me this 10 years ago. My throat closed. I felt like I owed the harbor an apology. Lena took the paper, her fingers shaking.
She didn't just die. She was murdered because she knew this.
We covered Iris's remains with a tarp. Bert radioed quietly. A response crackled. A patrol boat would meet us. In the distance, the lighthouse blinked, slow and steady. I looked at the ledger. The first vendor listed Black Salt Holdings, the amount $50,000. The date, the week before Iris vanished. It was evidence, it was motive, and it was 10 years too late. Chapter 15. The Legal Gauntlet. News travels faster than boats. By the time we returned to shore, a small crowd had gathered, curious locals, council aides with clipboards, uniformed officers, reporters with cameras. The water police took Iris's remains gently, promising an autopsy and respectful handling. Lena clutched the ledger to her chest like a life ring. Elijah arrived in a tailored suit despite the hour, flanked by a pair of lawyers in matching ties. His smile was gone. His eyes glinted like pebbles in mud.
Detective Calder, oh, what a morning. I hear you found a body. Tragic, truly. And in the middle of an active investigation, too. I'm sure you followed all proper protocols. Cold. Because if you didn't, well, there could be consequences.
Iris Vale deserves a proper burial, not to be a missing person statistic. And these, the ledger copy, they deserve an investigation. And if you think you can intimidate me, you haven't been listening to your own show.
Ms. Calder, my client is merely concerned about the chain of custody. This discovery was made outside official channels.
I was there in an official capacity. We notified Marine Rescue. Everything's by the book. Maybe you should worry more about the contents of that ledger than our process.
Be that as it may, the Council will be issuing a statement. We urge everyone to refrain from wild accusations until the police have completed their work.
Elijah's gaze darted to Lena, then to the folded ledger. He licked his lips, then smiled, but there was no warmth.
Lena, I'm so sorry for your loss. Again, truly. We'll do everything in our power to support you. The Heritage Fund can cover the funeral costs. We'll make sure Iris is honored in the restoration.
Keep your money. Keep your lies. You killed her with your greed.
Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Cameras clicked. Elijah's mask slipped for a heartbeat, revealing annoyance, then slid back into place.
Emotions are high, understandably. We'll let the truth speak. Ms. Calder, expect a call from my office. You trespassed on council property. You broke a lock. You have harassed a sitting councilman on public airwaves. There will be legal consequences.
Bring them. We left before I could say more that might get me arrested. Sable met us by the motel, eyes red. She hadn't slept. She hugged Lena, then me.
I heard. I'm sorry. I have the envelope with the photos at my place. And I posted the audio this morning, the Heritage Fund episode. It's out. People are angry. My sponsors are panicking. I'm expecting a lawsuit.
Welcome to the club. At the motel, Lena spread the ledger printout on the kitchen table. The column of vendor names matched the ones I'd circled yesterday. There were more amounts, more dates. At the bottom, a handwritten note from Iris. He laughed when I told him I was going to the police. He said no one would believe me. Prove him wrong. I took a photo of the note and sent it to my old contact at the Melbourne Fraud Squad. A moment later, a reply. Come in. Bring everything. We've been waiting for a crack in this case. Before I could reply, my phone rang. An official number. I answered.
Maeve Calder, this is Detective Singh with State Police. We've had a complaint lodged against you by Councilman Pike. Trespassing, theft, harassment. We need you to come in for questioning.
Sure. Rhett looked at me.
We knew they'd push back. You okay?
I'm tired. I'm angry. And I'm not stopping. No matter what it costs. Chapter 16. Fractures. The town divided like oil and water. On the front page of the Glass Harbor Gazette, a photo of me hauling Iris's remains onto the boat sat above the headline, Body recovered, questions remain. Letters to the editor spilled from both sides, some calling me a hero, others calling me a meddling outsider. Social media threads burned hot with opinions. Sable's podcast episodes surged in downloads. In the Swell and Anchor, fishermen debated loudly. Some stood behind me, slamming fists on tables about corruption. Others mumbled about economic ruin if the Heritage Gala was canceled. The council issued a statement of sorrow and cooperation. Elijah's supporters wore buttons reading, "Restore, not destroy." Someone spray-painted "murderer" on his office door. Noah showed up at the motel mid-afternoon, cap in his hands. His shoulders sagged like he'd been carrying anchors.
"I owe you an apology and an explanation."
"Sit." He did, twisting the cap.
10 years ago, when Iris went missing, Elijah came to me the next day. He said the Heritage Fund needed a win, something to distract people. He asked me to sign off on a lights test at midnight. He promised he'd donate to the crew's families. I thought it was odd, but we needed the money. We always do. So I agreed to turn off the harbor lights for 10 minutes. Said it was for a performance piece he was planning. I didn't ask questions. When I heard later that Iris disappeared that same night, I felt sick. But there was no proof. And he... Voice cracks. He looked me in the eye and said it was a coincidence. I wanted to believe him. I needed to believe him. Our town depends on his money. So I signed the outage logs to match his timeline. I covered for him. I told myself it was a clerical error. I told myself the 10 minutes didn't matter. But you found out. And I'm sorry.
You were complicit.
I know. And I regret it every day. Mara's gone because of me. Not because I took her, but because I let him think he could do it again. Tears. I don't expect forgiveness. But if there's anything I can do to make it right now, I will.
There is. Testify. Tell the state police that you falsified the logs at Elijah's request. Bring them every document you have. Bring them your guilt. Let them decide what to do with it.
Okay, I'll do it.
He stood. His hands shook.
You know, he threatened my son last year. Said if I didn't shut up about budget issues, my son's fishing license renewal would be lost. That's what did it. That's why I asked you for help. I'm done being scared. I'd rather lose my job than my integrity.
After he left, the motel felt heavy. The walls held echoes of secrets spilled. Lena sat on the edge of the couch, staring at the ledger. Her shoulders shook.
We trusted the wrong people. We trusted someone because he smiled and donated to the flower show and fixed potholes. And all the while, Iris was at the bottom of the harbor.
We're going to make sure Mara isn't. We have a location now. We have a ledger. We have a confession. We have momentum. We just need to keep going. My phone buzzed. A message from Detective Singh. Mr. Brandt came forward. He corroborated your timeline. Come in tomorrow at 10 a.m. to make a statement. Bring the ledger. At the bottom, a second line. And bring a lawyer. I looked at Rhett. He gave me a grim smile.
I'll call my cousin. She's a solicitor. She owes me a favor. We'll go together. We'll take down the Heritage Fund and Elijah with it.
Chapter 17. Decoding. Melbourne's city bustle felt like another world compared to Glass Harbor's foggy quiet. But I needed distance and resources. Detective Adams met me in a sterile office lined with glass walls and whiteboards covered in scribbles. He was in his early 40s, tie askew, coffee stain on his shirt, eyes sharp behind wire-rimmed glasses.
Maeve, last time you called me, you wanted a forensics report on a boat hook. I didn't expect this.
Neither did I. Iris Vale tried to give this to me 10 years ago. She ended up at the bottom of the harbor instead. This ledger lists shell companies funneling money from a heritage restoration fund into someone's pockets. I need to know who owns them.
GLA-HBR ledger, huh? Clever. Most criminals pick something less obvious. Let's run these vendor names. We'll cross-reference against the ASIC database and our own fraud watch lists.
He typed as we spoke. Names popped up on his screen, flagged or not found.
Harbor Restoration Solutions, no ABN. GHB Maintenance Co., nothing. Black Salt Holdings, registered to a P.O. box in Glass Harbor. Shareholders, none listed. But wait, it's a shelf company owned by a shelf company, and that one owned by a private trust in Hong Kong. Classic layering, but here's something. One of the directors is listed as E. Pike. They didn't even bother to hide it internationally. It's a separate E. Pike, maybe. Could be random. But given your context...
It's not random. We also have an IP address and a password Mara texted Sable. GLA-HBR Ledger 1. We think the ledger's digital copy is on a secure server, maybe the council's. She tried to access it, and they cut the lights.
We can try. I will look it up. It's a local network, not internet-facing. I'd need physical access or a tunneling code. Do you have remote access?
Sable gave me the contact of the radio tech. He might have been on the same network. He might be able to connect.
If you get me onto their network, I can copy the ledger. We just need the pass. Try GLA-HBR-something. Could be restoration. Could be ledger. Access denied. Could be location-based, like the lighthouse coordinates. Or maybe it's simple. Did Mara send any other half-phrases?
She said GLA in her voicemail. And the matchbook had GLA-HBR scribbled. The triangle, LCP, lighthouse, cannery, pier. Maybe the pass is the coordinates of their intersection. We'll figure that out later. For now, can you flag these names? Can you run them through AML?
I can, but local enforcement needs to push it. The state police will need a formal request, which means you need to make your statement, deliver evidence, and not antagonize them more than you already have. Good luck with that. Maeve, be careful. People who move this kind of money don't just set fires, they set traps. And they have long memories.
I left the city with a USB drive containing Adam's preliminary findings and a promise that he'd dig deeper. On my way out, my phone buzzed with a text from Sable. Envelope dropped off at your motel. Photos inside. Let me know what you think. Back at the motel, I found a manila envelope taped to my door. Inside were grainy black and white prints. In most, the cannery loomed. In one, a figure stood on the catwalk, silhouetted by a security light. They were tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a coat and a hat. In another, the same figure stood on the pier, talking to a slender person with long hair, maybe Iris. A third shot showed a car, Elijah's make and model, parked by the cannery entrance. The timestamp at the bottom corner read 23:55, 9 minutes before the blackout that took Iris. I clenched my jaw. I called Sable. Where did you get these?
They were mailed to me a week after Iris vanished. No return address. I thought they were fake. Now, the car, the coat. It's him, isn't it?
It looks like him, but grainy isn't proof. We'll need to match it with something else. Thank you for giving them to me.
I'm trying to make it right.
I tucked the photos into the ledger folder. The pieces were falling into place. We needed to find Mara and keep the evidence safe until we could confront Elijah publicly. The restoration gala was in 2 days. It would be a stage. We planned to turn it into a trial. Chapter 18. Hidden Files. The radio station felt like a second home after the last few days. Its halls were still plastered with posters, but the mood had shifted. Volunteers whispered, eyes darting toward closed doors. Caller 9 had been quiet since the triangle call. We needed him, or her. Rhett and I found Finn, the night shift engineer who kept the station running. He was in his mid-20s, with a mop of hair and headphones perpetually around his neck. He looked like he hadn't slept.
Are you here to shut me down? I didn't do anything wrong. I just run the boards.
Finn, we need your help. Mara left us an IP address and a password. We think she found a digital ledger on the council's server. We need to access it. You have the network access. We also think you might know where she hid a copy. Did she use your booth?
I'm not supposed to let people plug random USB drives into the system. Management freaks out, but Mara came in late one night. She said she needed to upload something. She had a drive. She looked scared. She said, "If something happens to me, tell Maeve Calder to look behind Godzilla." I thought she was joking. Godzilla is the old poster in the storage closet. When she didn't come back, I didn't know what to do. I called in a tip to caller 9. That was me. I'm caller 9. It's just a voice changer. I thought I was helping.
He blurted it all in one breath. My mind raced. Caller 9. Finn. He wasn't some all-seeing hacktivist. He was a scared kid trying to do the right thing in the wrong way. Why didn't you call the police?
Because the last time someone did that, they died. Iris. And because Elijah knows everyone. He donates to their barbecues. He could ruin my mom's bakery with a phone call. I thought if I warned you anonymously, you'd figure it out.
Finn, you should have told me. But you did call, and you saved us from the ghost step. We owe you for that. Where's this poster?
Finn led us to a storage closet. The air smelled of dust and old audio tape. A faded poster of a Godzilla movie hung on the back wall, half peeled. Finn lifted it, revealing a small safe screwed into the wall.
She told me the code was the date the lights went out 10 years ago. I never tried it. I couldn't.
15th of March, 2015. 150315. I punched in the numbers. The safe clicked open. Inside lay a thumb drive wrapped in a plastic bag and a folded note. I pulled it out. The note read, "If you're reading this, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to drag you in. The password is the triangle's middle. M. The triangle's middle. The coordinates? The intersection we saw from the lighthouse. I scribbled them onto my palm. 37 49 17 S 145 023E. It was overkill, but maybe the server needed GPS data. Finn shifted from foot to foot.
The network box is in my booth. I can give you remote access, but if Elijah's IT guy sees, he'll know, and he'll kill the connection, and maybe me.
We'll do it when he's distracted. The gala's tomorrow. He'll be busy schmoozing.
Okay. And, I'm sorry for scaring you with the ghost stories.
You scared me into the right direction. You're not my enemy, but you need to testify to what you know when this goes down. Can you do that?
If you promise to keep my mum out of it.
Promise. We pocketed the drive. I felt the weight of it, a small piece of plastic that could sink or save a town. Chapter 19. Voice Behind the Line. We sat in the radio booth, lights low, headphones around our necks. Finn adjusted the levels and checked the hallway every 30 seconds. He hadn't taken off his hoodie. His hands shook when they hovered over the keyboard. Finn, how long have you been caller 9?
About 3 months. It started when Mara asked me for access. I told her no. She begged. She said she found something. I let her plug her drive in. She uploaded something to a hidden folder on the council's server. She said she'd come back with the password. She didn't. I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the stairs. My dad fell through one when I was a kid. The noise, the splash. I kept hearing it. So I called your show and told a story. People listened. I thought maybe you would. It was stupid.
It wasn't. It gave me a thread. Why the ghost step? Why the triangle?
Mara said the triangle was important. She said if we drew lines between the lighthouse, the cannery, and the pier, we'd find something. I Googled old naval charts. I made guesses. I thought if I mentioned it on air, maybe someone else would know. Then you showed up at the lighthouse, and then you found Iris. So maybe ghost stories work.
He smiled weakly. Rhett patted his shoulder.
You did more than most grown men in this town.
Finn cracked his knuckles, then typed quickly. He tunneled into the council's server. The login screen popped up, asking for the passphrase.
Here goes nothing. GLA-HBR ledger 1 denied. Coordinates 37.821389 south, 145.006389 east denied.
Try just the letters LCP, the triangle's corners.
LCP, we're in.
The folder opened. Inside were spreadsheets, PDFs, scanned receipts. Names matched the ledger. There were emails, too. One from Elijah to an account labeled B Salt Holdings with the subject line Storm Performance. I read quickly. An email from Elijah read,
Ensure the outage is 8 minutes. The catwalk entry will be open. I will handle the girl. Deposit will be doubled if no noise. E.
My stomach lurched. It was the plan, in writing, signed.
Print it, copy it, save it, now, and encrypt your copy. We need as many redundancies as possible.
Finn downloaded the files, copying them onto the thumb drive, then onto my laptop. He encrypted them with a password we all knew. He unplugged with shaking hands.
We need to wipe the access log. If they see an unknown device, they'll know.
Do it. He did. The screen cleared. The risk sat heavily in the room.
They're going to kill me.
They won't. We'll be at the gala tomorrow. We have the ledger, the photos, the emails. We'll confront him publicly. The town will be there. The state police will be there. He can't hurt us all.
Ha ha ha. You haven't met my anxiety.
I glanced at the window. Outside, seagulls wheeled. Glass Harbor looked deceptively peaceful. I put my hand on his shoulder. Thank you, Finn.
My name is Felix, actually. Finn is a nickname. I guess if I'm going to testify, I should use my real name. Felix Morton. Night tech, ghost story caller, coward. Okay, let's do this.
We left the station with a drive full of evidence, and a young man's life changed. Outside, Caller 9's voice was just that, a scared but brave person who decided to stop being anonymous. Chapter 20, Making Amends. Back at the motel, Sable waited on the porch, a small blue folder in her hands. The morning air carried the scent of burnt paper from the council fire and the tang of salt. She looked tired but determined.
I went to see Lena. I apologized. She told me to keep my pity and bring her daughter. I deserved that. These are the photos. And a copy of my signed contract with Pike from 2 years ago.
Contract.
He hired me as a media consultant for the Heritage Fund, paid me double what radio pays. In exchange, I agreed to produce a series of positive segments. He said he'd share exclusive scoops. I thought it was my big break, and he did share exclusives, like the Iris nickname. He told me off record at a dinner after wine, said it was cute. I put it in my memory and thought it'd make a great human interest bit. I never used it, but I also didn't question why he knew. I didn't want to ruin my deal. I compromised. I'm so ashamed.
She looked away. The sunlight caught the sheen in her eyes. You're telling me now. That matters. The contract spelled out a direct payment from a company called Harbor PR Solutions, another shell, to Sable in exchange for positive coverage. Elijah's signature sat at the bottom. In the margin, someone had scribbled exclusives equals secrets. I looked up. You can testify that he tried to pay you for silence.
Yes, and I'm going to. I also went through my raw audio archive last night. I found a tape from Iris. She called into my show once under a fake name. She described the triangle. I laughed on air. I thought it was a prank. Here, use it. I'm done protecting my career. If I have one after this, it will be because I earned it.
I took the USB. Sable looked smaller than I'd ever seen her, but in a way, more solid. Thank you.
Don't thank me yet. We still have to get through a gala without being arrested.
The next 24 hours blurred into planning. Finn, Felix, prepared a backup of the ledger on multiple drives. I scanned the photos and added them to a presentation. I emailed Detective Adams the copy of the emails. He responded with, "This is enough to indict. Don't get killed before we serve the warrant." Rhett borrowed a projector. Lena baked scones. We all did what we knew to do to stay sane. That night, as the sun dipped low, Sable knocked on my motel door.
We're going to win tomorrow. And then I'm going to do a season on Iris, on Mara, on corruption. No more ghost stories, no more fluff, just truth. Even if only 5 people listen.
I'll listen. Chapter 21. The Gala. The cannery was dressed to hide its scars. Twinkling fairy lights draped between rafters. White tablecloths covered rusty barrels repurposed as cocktail tables. A banner read, Heritage Restoration Gala, Building Our Future. Elijah wore a tuxedo and a golden pin of the town's crest. He moved through the crowd like a shark disguised as a host, shaking hands, laughing at jokes. The town turned out, curiosity and obligation mingling. Some came for free wine. Others came to show support. Others came, like us, to witness a reckoning. The state police lingered at the edges, plainclothes officers with earpieces. Rhett set up the projector at the back of the room near a power outlet. Sable readied a microphone. Lena stood by the entrance, arms crossed, eyes on Elijah. Finn, Felix, hovered by the soundboard, ready to cut the music when needed. I clutched the ledger, the photos, the emails, the contract. The evidence felt heavier than any gun I'd ever held. Elijah took the stage, a spotlight warming his face.
Friends, neighbors, distinguished guests, thank you for coming to celebrate the next chapter of Glass Harbor. Together, we are turning rust into renaissance. Together, we will build a future that honors our past while forging something new. I know recent events have caused pain and confusion. I share in your grief. But we must not let tragedy define us. We must push forward with hope.
I stepped forward. Or we could push forward with truth. Good evening, councilmen, friends. My name is Maeve Calder. Many of you know me as the detective who failed to find Iris Vale. Today, I am the woman who pulled her body from the harbor. And I have something to show you. The projector flickered. On the wall behind Elijah, the first photo appeared, a grainy shot of him on the catwalk, hat low, coat collar up. Murmurs rippled. Elijah stiffened. This photo was taken the night Iris Vale disappeared. That is Councilman Elijah Pike on the cannery catwalk. He told police he was at a canceled gala. Here he is at the scene of the crime. Here is his car by the cannery. Here is an email from Elijah Pike to B Salt Holdings, instructing them to ensure the lights were out for 8 minutes. Here is a ledger showing money siphoned from the Heritage Fund to shell companies he owns. Here's his contract, paying Sable Quinn to produce flattering coverage in exchange for silence. And here is a note from Iris Vale. He laughed when I told him I was going to the police. He said no one would believe me. Prove him wrong. The room buzzed like a hive struck by a stick. Elijah's face flushed, then drained. He opened his mouth, but Sable cut the music, leaving his voice bare.
This is outrageous. These are fabrications. Doctor...
He stopped as uniformed officers pushed through the crowd.
Elijah Pike, I'm Detective Singh with the State Police. You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, embezzlement, and obstruction of justice. We'll also be pursuing charges relating to the deaths of Iris Vale and the disappearance of Mara Dwyer. Please place your hands behind your back.
Elijah laughed, but it was brittle.
You can't arrest me here. This is my event. This is my town.
Not anymore. He spun, bolting toward the side exit. Felix cut the house lights. Planned. The room plunged into darkness. Sable hit the backup generator, but a beat passed. In that beat, Elijah disappeared into the shadows. People screamed. I felt Rhett's hand find mine in the dark.
He's going to the catwalk. He thinks he can lose us like before.
Then let's not let him. Chapter 22. Blackout. My feet pounded up the cannery stairs, muscle memory from the day before kicking in. The emergency lights flickered, casting red glows that turned faces into ghouls. Somewhere above, metal clanged. Elijah was fast for a man in a tux. Rhett ran ahead, flashlight beams slicing through dust. Felix, surprisingly agile, followed, his breath ragged. Sable came behind, microphone still clutched, recording live audio. The north stair loomed. The fourth plank groaned under my weight. I shouted, "Jump the fourth! It's still rotten!" Felix leaped. Rhett cleared it. Behind us, Detective Singh and 2 officers followed. We reached the top of the stair. The catwalk stretched, eerie in the red light. Elijah stood at the far end, silhouetted against a broken window, the harbor's dark water beyond. He held a briefcase, the ledger, or something else. His hair was mussed, his smile gone, his teeth bared in an animal snarl.
Stay back. This is all lies. You won't ruin me. I built this town. I'm its future. You're nothing but a washed-up cop and a bunch of nobodies.
Iris was a nobody to you. Mara was a nobody. We're not nobodies. We're enough. Put down the case, Elijah. There's nowhere to go. The stairs are blocked. The catwalk won't hold much longer.
Then we'll all go down together.
He ran toward the ladder to the roof. Felix darted left, blocking his path.
No, don't do this.
Elijah swung the briefcase. Felix ducked, but the case clipped his shoulder. He stumbled, hitting the railing. For a terrifying second, he teetered over the drop. Rhett grabbed his hoodie and yanked him back. Elijah tried to push past, but his shoe caught on a grease smear. His feet slid. He windmilled, arms flailing, briefcase flying. Papers burst out like a flock of white birds. He grabbed the railing, hanging on with one hand, his body halfway over the void.
Help! Help me!
His eyes were wide, all arrogance gone. Rhett reached out instinctively, but I grabbed his arm. Let him. For a moment, time stretched. Elijah dangled, the chain grease shimmering on his grip. He looked up at me, pleading. In that glance, I saw the boy he might have been and the monster he became. I stepped closer. Iris said you laughed when she threatened to go to the police. You said no one would believe her. I believe her. Confess. Tell us where Mara is, or I'll let go. He hesitated, then spat.
She's alive. She's at the radio station. The tech hit her. He thinks he's saving her. He doesn't know what he's doing. She's in the storage room behind the Godzilla poster. Please, I didn't mean to... I just needed money.
I reached out and grabbed his wrist. His skin was slick. Rhett and Singh grabbed me, anchoring us. We hauled him back onto the catwalk, breathless. He collapsed, sobbing. Cuff him. Singh clicked metal around Elijah's wrists. He didn't resist. We left him on his knees, wailing about being framed. Sable kept recording. Felix slumped against the railing, shaking.
He knew where I hid her. How?
We'll ask him later. For now, we go to the radio station. Sable, tell them to send units there. Now. Sable nodded, speaking into her mic, her voice steady despite her wide eyes.
Listeners, you heard it here. Councilman Elijah Pike has been detained. He confessed that Mara Dwyer is alive and hidden in the radio station. We're heading there now. Stay tuned. Stay safe.
We raced down the stairs, careful over the rotten plank. Outside, the night air hit me like a slap. Sirens wailed, lights flashed, people shouted. The harbor's hum was drowned out by the roar of a town on the cusp of truth. We didn't know if Mara would be alive when we found her. We didn't know if Elijah would recant. But we were running toward hope for the first time in a decade. And that was enough. Chapter 23. The Confession. The cannery hums with generator lights and the metallic tang of drying salt. Elijah sits in an interrogation room improvised from the break room, steel table, plastic chairs, his wrists cuffed to a pipe. Detective Singh stands by the door, legal pad in hand. I pull out a chair, feeling the bruise on my shoulder from catching him on the catwalk.
You dragged me back from the abyss for this? Call my lawyer.
He's on his way. Meanwhile, tell us why Mara Dwyer is locked in a radio station closet and what really happened to Iris Vale.
It wasn't supposed to go that far. Iris threatened to expose us. The fund kept this town alive, Maeve. Noah knew, Sable knew, even the council knew. I just kept the books neat.
Explain kept neat.
Shell companies, GLA-HBR ledger entries, emergency funds moving through vendor shells. If the lighthouse needed paint, we padded the invoice. Everyone got a cut.
Everyone except Iris and Mara. Iris finds out, confronts you on the catwalk. It's slick, there's no light. Who turned off the harbor lamps?
I called Noah, told him I needed the lights down for 8 minutes. He owed me. Iris. She tried to run. I grabbed her. She slipped. I didn't push.
You carried her body to the reef shelf with chain grease on your boots. We have your footprints, Elijah.
You think I wanted to dump her? The tide would take her. We all panicked. Noah ferried me back. Sable promised to kill the story if I funded her podcast.
And Mara?
She was snooping. She found a ledger file. I asked Felix to scare her. Just scare her. He hit her. He said it was safer than turning her over to me. Ask him.
I didn't trust you. I saw what you did to Iris. Mara is alive because I hid her.
Charges stand. Fraud, embezzlement, obstruction, abuse of a corpse, attempted murder. Anything else you want to add before your lawyer arrives?
None of you see the bigger picture. The harbor will rot without that fund. You'll all be begging when the tourists leave.
I lean back, letting his words sink like stones. Confession or justification. It doesn't matter. Physical evidence, voices on tape, 3 witnesses. The case will hold. There's just one thing left to do. Chapter 24. The Rescue Mission. The radio station sits on the edge of Glass Harbor, a bunker of corrugated tin and old vinyl banners. The Godzilla poster flaps in the wind by the back door. Rhett, Felix, and I push inside, our breath fogging in the cold hallway.
Here.
I told her it was the only place he wouldn't look. She trusted me.
Behind the poster is a broom closet, door chained shut. Rhett snaps the padlock. The door swings open on darkness. Mara, it's Maeve Calder. You're safe.
Maeve, is he gone? Did he find the triangle?
He's in cuffs. Come on, let's get you out. She emerges blinking, hair tangled, cheeks hollow. She clutches a thumb drive to her chest like a relic.
I kept it, the ledger. I copied everything before he could delete it. I thought I was going to die in there.
I'm sorry. I thought hiding you was protecting you. I never meant...
You saved me. He would have killed me, just like Iris.
Dispatch. We need medical and a unit at Glass Harbor Radio. We've got the missing person. Alive.
Mara's eyes fill with tears when the siren wail grows louder. Outside, the night fog turns blue and red. She squeezes my hand and whispers a name I haven't heard in years.
Tell Lena. Iris she fought him hard.
I nod, throat tight. We step into the cold night, Mara supported between us. For the first time in 10 years, a mother will know some version of the truth. Chapter 25. Aftermath. Glass Harbor wakes to headlines and sirens. Elijah Pike is arrested. The council implodes. The restoration fund is frozen. Sable's podcast drops a special episode titled Harbor of Lies, with clips of the confessions and Felix's story. Locals gather at the diner, voices loud, faces pale. Some curse Elijah's name. Others whisper that we've killed the town's future.
In the end, the truth did what 100 storms couldn't. It tore Glass Harbor open. The people you trusted most? They were the ones stealing from you.
I sit across from Lena at a corner booth. Her hands cradle a coffee cup she hasn't sipped.
Iris didn't vanish because she ran. She died fighting. Thank you.
I'm sorry it took a decade.
The harbor buried her once, but it won't bury her story.
Noah resigns as harbor master, citing health reasons. He avoids my gaze but squeezes my shoulder on his way out. The council names Detective Singh as interim chair until elections. Funds are redirected to fix the cannery and rebuild trust. Tourists trickle away. Fishermen debate leaving. The fog lifts slowly as if in mourning.
You staying?
Depends if they still need a detective when this is done.
You do know people are already asking for you. Podcasters want interviews. Publishers want the book rights. True crime gold.
They can wait. There's a woman who hasn't gone home in 10 years. I'm taking her there. Chapter 26. Choice. I drive Lena and Mara up the bluff road, the car climbing as morning burns off the mist. Glass Harbor glimmers below, lighthouse repaired, cannery gates locked, the harbor light blinking steady. We pull up to the Vale house. The screen door creaks. Lena helps Mara inside like she's 5 again.
It feels the same, like time stopped.
Only the people changed.
I wait on the porch, listening to their laughter mingle with quiet sobs. When Lena returns, she presses an old key into my hand.
Iris's room. There's a box she wanted you to have if she couldn't give it herself.
Why me?
She trusted you, even when you couldn't save her. Maybe this will help you forgive yourself.
Upstairs, dust motes drift in a shaft of light. The box is under the bed, wrapped in newspaper. Inside, a faded photo of teenage Iris and me on the pier, laughing, a compass with "Find Your North" carved on the back, and a note. If you're reading this, it means I couldn't set you straight in person. You think leaving will save you. It won't. This town breaks and fixes people. Stay, because someone has to. Stay and shine a light so no one else goes missing. I fold the note, eyes stinging, and sit on the floor until the light shifts. Outside, Rhett's truck pulls up.
Well, are you running or staying?
She said to find my north. I think it's here. Besides, who else will chase harbor ghosts if I leave?
Knew you couldn't resist. I'll put in for 2 detectives. Try not to burn down the cannery again.
We laugh, and for the first time in a decade, it doesn't feel wrong. The harbor keeps its promises, the kind you don't want and the kind you never expected. Chapter 27. Loose Ends. Weeks pass. Trials begin. Elijah hires the best lawyers money can buy, but evidence piles up like driftwood. Sable sells her story to a streaming network. Felix testifies, voice steady, hands shaking. Mara moves away for a fresh start. Lena plants flowers on Iris's grave for the first time. One evening, I walk past the darkened council building. A light glows in a back office. Through the window, stacks of boxes labeled Archive are piled to the ceiling. An unfamiliar man, tall, suit too polished for Glass Harbor, pulls a ledger from a box and slides it into his briefcase. He glances at the street, sees me, and smiles politely before drawing the blinds. That ledger shell Elijah didn't know about? We're not done. I jot down his license plate number. The harbor keeps secrets like oysters keep pearls, tight until the right knife pries them open. I text Rhett. You free tomorrow? We've got a new shell to crack. Epilogue. Caller 9's sign-off.
This is Caller 9, signing off. 10 years of whispers and static, and I finally used my name. Glass Harbor's night is quiet tonight. The cannery fence doesn't sing. The harbor light shines. For those tuning in, hoping for one last ghost story, don't worry, the harbor isn't done. Neither am I.
I lean against the pier railing, listening to Felix's voice on my phone. Fog rolls in, softening the edges of the world. Beneath me, dark water laps against weathered wood. Somewhere out there, another secret waits. I inhale salt and promise.
Stay safe out there. Watch your step on the north stair. And if you find yourself staring down at dark water, remember, you're not alone.
I pocket the compass Iris left me. The needle swings, settles toward the harbor. Ahead, the light sweeps across the waves, carving a path in the night. The harbor keeps its promises.